Hello everybody, I'm Sarah. I'm the Real Simple Mama. And these, I guess, are my chickens. They're looking kind of haggard because we're making our way through the molt, right Blue? And I have a video that sort of doesn't have an easy answer today, and it's something people have asked me about in regards to what is the perfect number of chickens. And if you've seen some of my recent videos, you know that we've kind of gotten some new information about our future here at this house. We may be moving in the spring, and I was torn about my original plan to get more chickens, and now wondering, like, man, should I get more or should I just wait because we might be moving? And I appreciate everybody who watched that video and everybody who gave me your opinion, because you guys are right. I do want to follow my heart. I do want to take care of more birds, but it makes more sense to just wait. But then the question came up of what's the perfect number of chickens? Like, what is the quote-unquote right number of chickens? And I'm here to tell you, first of all, spoiler alert, there's no easy answer to that question, but as we wait for the plane to go by. But I did want to give you some insight as to, if you've got chicks that are still in a pen, or you're thinking about getting chickens, or maybe you've got your first batch of chickens, or whatever the case may be, kind of just figuring out how many you're going to get. Now, I know chicken math is real, and that's the concept of like, oh yeah, I went to the feed store to get something, and I came back with 5 more chicks. Sorry, honey. Chicken math is real, and that, I always need more chickens. I always need more chickens. I don't know how many I have. It doesn't matter. I need more. But let's talk realistically just about some, excuse me, this is not your video. Let's talk realistically about just some things to consider when you're trying to figure out how many chickens should I get. So the first and the most important is it's the factor to consider. And I'm still going through this cold, so I apologize that I sound more like an elephant than I normally do. The first factor to consider is how many do you have time for, and how many can you afford? Now, for me, it's kind of like if you have to buy all the supplies that you need to have chickens, then whether you have 5 or 10 or 20 doesn't really necessarily matter. Ooh, the mister's coming on. Their mister just came on, and their fan will be coming on in a minute. So, like if you have to buy a coop, then you have to buy a coop. And it doesn't matter if there's 2 chickens or 5 chickens or 10 chickens, because you already had to buy one anyway. If you're buying chicken feed, then you're buying chicken feed. And it may go by a little bit faster if you have a couple more. But to me, it's kind of like if you have chickens, then the expense doesn't really increase unless we're talking about adding 5 more birds or 10 more birds or whatever. For me, going from 5 to 8 chickens, that wasn't going to cost me any more money, except we might go through a bag of feed a little bit more quickly. Now, you have to remember, let me go over and show you my bag of food. And just in case you're new to this, chicken feed comes in big bags. You can make your own. I do not recommend that you try to make and mix your own. I am not like a corporate slave, or, I'm not bought out by any brand or manufacturer or sponsor or anything, so I can say whatever I want. But I will tell you the amount of effort and experimentation it takes for you to try to find like this perfect recipe that has enough protein and enough calcium and enough whatever. It's totally not worth it for you to try to do that on your own. I know some people who try to go like super organic and super, super healthy and super pure and whatever, but their chickens are usually emaciated because there's a lot of error when you're trying to mix your own food. So I suggest, you buy a 40 or 50 pound bag of food, and, it's that big. That lasts me over a month with 5 chickens. Now, I had somebody, I deleted the comment. I will not tolerate comments that are, first of all, like not true or not accurate, but also ones that are just like coming onto my channel and calling me like stupid because it was like, hey lady. And this person, I will say in my defense, this person basically said that I was stupid for saying that nutritionally all chickens need is their layer feed. And she said, well, I tried to give my chickens just the layer feed and they almost starved. And first of all, it's like, well, okay. Your chickens, the only thing they need nutritionally is their layer feed. I stand by that statement. Your chicks, the only thing they need is their chick grower feed. Nutritionally, that's all they need. My guess with this lady, who I chose to not, I'm not going to argue with somebody on my channel. I'm just going to delete you, whatever. My guess is that she probably didn't feed them all the time. Like, you don't feed a chicken like you feed your cat or dog, where you just put like one little bowl of food down and that's all they get. You have to have unlimited quantities available to them 24/7. My girls hop down in the morning and the first thing they do is eat and drink, and they poop and they kind of stretch and walk around and whatever. As soon as they lay an egg, man, it's like they ran a marathon, and they run down and like, oh my God, I'm so hungry, I just laid an egg. And Flopsy's in there laying right now. you're not, to me, it's like if you're buying what you need for your chickens, then, you know, whether you have 3 or 4 or 5, it doesn't really matter. Same thing with the time. If you're coming out to do your chicken chores, and I'll do a morning chore video here pretty soon, so you can just see like, hey, this is what I do in the mornings, and I watch my chickens, and blah, blah, blah. But if you're coming out and you're having to clean chicken poop anyway, or you're filling up a chicken waterer anyway, the number of chickens doesn't necessarily matter. So I would just think, you know, if you double the size of your flock, yeah, you're going to go through food more quickly. If you're getting so many more chickens that you have to buy another coop, then yeah, there's an expense there. But as far as, you know, money and time, having chickens is having chickens. It's not really like, I don't know. It's not like the work increases tenfold per extra bird that you add, if that makes sense. The workload is not going to increase significantly. Now, if I bought a whole other second coop for, like, I don't know, bantams or a different breed or just roosters or something like that, then yeah, my workload's going up. But as far as you figuring out the perfect number of chickens for you, it's kind of like once you got them, you got them. Right, Blue? You can see Blue's going through the molt, right? Because you could see the gray, the down feathers, like the underneath layer. But she doesn't look too bad. Poor Flopsy, she's laying an egg right now. Her whole muff, her whole beard came off. It's like, oh geez. Like, I don't know. So the next factor to think about is if you are using your chickens for eggs or for meat, like they're serving a purpose for you, you know, in that case, how many do you need? You need to remember that a spring chicken, a chicken who is less than a year old, most hens that are either hybrid breeds or they are like good egg-laying breeds, they'll lay an egg a day, probably 6 days a week. But each year, as your chickens age, they will lay less. My girls are probably about 2.5. I don't know for sure, except for Calypso. But I think they're all about 2.5. And I'm still getting, out of 5 chickens, I still get, I'll say 3 eggs a day usually. So everybody gets a couple days off a week, but I'm still getting 3 eggs a day. And honestly, that's more than I need. I'm able to sell their eggs. And I've done a video all about chicken eggs. You can go watch it and you can get all my tips about, you know, if you want to sell your chicken eggs and all that stuff. But I mean, they basically pay for their own food and everything by me selling their eggs. I only have to sell a couple dozen a month and it pays for their food. That big bag of food that I showed you is about 15 bucks here from Tractor Supply. I'm in Texas. Right? Now, I don't have experience with meat birds. I know that meat birds, you want to fatten them up really quickly and you're going to cull or slaughter them well before they are a year old. So that is, you know, a lot more, and they have their special formulated food to make them grow more quickly. That's another battle that I don't really have as much experience with. With them, you know, you're going to go through chickens a lot more quickly. You will go through food more quickly. But it's kind of the same concept. Like if you have all the supplies and the equipment set up, then adding more birds is not going to be that big of a deal. So let's talk about the next factor. How much room does each chicken need? And a lot of this information I've covered in other videos, so thank you for those of you who are, you know, this is not new for you. The bare minimum standard for a chicken is that each chicken has 10 square feet of space. My chickens have way more than that, and that, of course, like I said, is the bare minimum. What you doing, girls? That's the bare minimum. So if you don't have a huge yard, or if your chickens, it's okay, Lacey, it's okay. There's that chicken bow, right, for those of you who are waiting for eggs. If your chickens, at least, they don't all do it all the time, but that's that bow. Hey, girls. If you only have this much room, you really shouldn't have more than 3 or 4 chickens. Our girls were cooped up in here, and to use that chicken expression, they were, there's Flopsy in there. Hey, girl. They were cooped up in here for a couple of months before we built the run, but now they have plenty of room, and I can happily add 3 more birds, and it's no big deal. The other thing in regards to space, so that's 10 square feet of room for them during the day, right? You don't need that at night. I do have other videos that you can go look if you need more detailed information as far as how much room do they need to sleep at night. But not only do you need to give them space to like forage and run and just have space to be a chicken, right? Because that helps prevent boredom, which can make them violent. That helps prevent obesity, which is a health hazard for chickens. You know, it's just opportunity for them to like literally get out and stretch their legs and get a little bit of chicken exercise and stuff like that. The other concern though is you need to make sure that you have enough square footage for each of them to have a parking spot on the roost. Here I could easily get probably 8 birds on each of those bars, and there's 2 bars, 1 bar here and another bar here. So, and I've got a video all about chicken roosting and chicken sleep and things like that, so you can kind of measure. I mean, imagine that chicken butt, sorry Lacey, imagine that chicken butt, and chickens don't perch, right? They sit flat-footed when they sleep. And then imagine her like hunkering down and sleeping on her feet. So her, but squished down. that's as much space as she needs to be able to sleep. So if you're measuring a roost and you've only got one short bar, well, I mean, only 3 chickens can fit right there. So you need to be thinking about space-wise, how many chickens do you have space for? So far we've talked about, you know, the expense. You know, can you afford the food for them? How many eggs are you looking to get a day? Remembering that there's a lot of factors that are out of your control. When a chicken is molting, she's not going to lay hardly at all usually. When it gets really, really, really hot, or sometimes really, really, really cold, the extreme summers and extreme winters, you're not going to get as many eggs, so keep that in mind. And of course, roosters won't provide eggs at all. And then we just talked about how much room do you have for chickens. Right, girls? I know for me, you know, I want a lot of different breeds. I would love to have, you know, all different kinds of breeds. I would love to be able to rescue hens from egg factories and things like that. But you also have to kind of think about, if you are the kind of person like me who wants to name your chickens and have a personal relationship with your chickens, if you're getting like over 20, 25 birds, you're not going to be able to have as individualized a relationship with them. They may not be as cuddly and as friendly because you can't give them one-on-one time. So that's just another thing to think about. But as far as the perfect number of chickens, you know, that answer depends on a lot of things. It depends on the amount of space that you have, the amount of time you have. Why do you want chickens? Do you just want them for pets that sometimes provide eggs? Do you need them for eggs to give to your family or so that you can sell them? You know, do you have another purpose on why you want chickens? So there's lots of different factors. Right, girls? For me, you know, I would love to have, you know, like the chicken chick. If you don't follow her, like on Facebook and on YouTube, oh my gosh, she lives in more like, I'm trying to think, like north central United States. I'm trying to remember where she lives. I think she's in Ohio. And I mean, her yard is goals. Like, she has multiple coops. Her landscaping and everything is gorgeous. She decorates for Christmas. She's brilliant. She's written books. She's awesome. And she has a ton of chickens, and some of them are named, but some of them are not, you know, and it's just kind of like, I have too many to be able to keep up with everything, and that's her full-time job, right? Like, that's all she does. If you want to follow somebody who's in another part of the world, here, Chook, I want to say she's in Australia. She might be in New Zealand. But she's another one, like, absolutely just gorgeous area, and her chickens are beautiful. She has a lot of frizzles if you want to see different kinds of birds. They also let their hens go broody and raise their own chicks. So they have roosters, and they do propagate, so they do have babies. You know, but you have all of those birds, and yes, it's going to be a little bit more time cleaning out the coop, and yes, it's going to be more in food bills, but also if you're really wanting a really personal relationship with all of your chickens, you may not get it. You know, and they sit out there and take, you know, gorgeous photographs and sit out and do videos and like, you know, live FAQs and things like that. But I mean, some of their chickens are not going to be really cuddly and not be very friendly because they just have so many. So you kind of need to think about, okay, how much time and money do I really have to devote to this? How much space do I have, right? And then what is my goal with chickens? You know, think about how many eggs you have to have per day bare minimum, because I'll tell you, doing that walk of shame and you've got chicken stickers all over your car and the neighborhood knows you as the chicken lady and you've got to go buy freaking eggs from HEB. Number one, I don't like supporting that industry because I know a lot of them, the chickens are not treated well, and I don't want to give that industry any money. But number two, just being like, yeah. Am I the chicken lady? No, that must be somebody else. No, I don't have to buy eggs, right? So the last thing I will tell you, and I say this, you know, and I've learned it the hard way by losing a couple of my girls. 2 more quick things to consider. I have done a video about the hardest thing about having chickens, which the hardest thing about having chickens is, you know, even if you love them and you do take good care of them, they are going to pass away one day. You know, they are not going to outlive you. Chickens normally live between 2 to 5 years, depending on the breed, depending on how hard of a life they've had. You know, a lot of breeds like those big Leghorns and Cornish hens and stuff like that, they don't live to be a year because they're designed, their bodies, they basically have been bred for their bodies to get really big really quickly, and they can't even hold themselves up, guys. Like, they fall over because they're so top heavy by the time they're ready to be culled. You know, but other chickens, like if you don't force egg laying on them, you don't do anything artificial, like put a light in the coop to force them to lay eggs or anything. If you just kind of let them chill out, like I'm thinking Callie will probably live to be 4 or 5. She's had a very easy life. You know, she's spoiled. Obviously, I do a lot of extra things to keep them comfortable in the extreme temperatures. You know, she's not chased around by a rooster who pulls at her feathers and is mounting her all the time. Like, she's got a pretty good life. You hear that? You have a good life, woman. So, you know, I would hope that she'll live to be 4 or 5. But that's really hard. And the other thing that's hard, and I have lost a couple of chickens in my chicken career here, is that you have to be able to take care of your birds every single day, or, you know, get somebody else to do it. They need care every single day. They have to be checked on every single day. They have to have fresh water. Like, I know I've got to fill up their water either tonight or tomorrow because it's starting to get low. I've had a terrible headache all day. I ran a 5K last night. I still have a cold, but they don't care. I mean, they are living things. They are dependent on you. So if you think, oh, these are just really cute, you know, kind of like some people are like, oh, I just want to have a baby because they're so adorable, and you don't really understand the amount of work that's in. I mean, and I'll tell you, once your chickens are full grown, they're not babies anymore, and they are outside, I mean, you can check on them twice a day, like once in the morning and once at night, and that's okay. There are some busy days where I spend time with them out in the morning. I make sure everything is clean and good, and they have plenty of extra food and water, and I check all of the locks, and I check their parameters and stuff, and then I'm like, okay, bye girls, I'll see you tonight, knowing that they're okay. I have an auto fan set up. I have an auto mister. I have a thermometer on the inside of the coop right in there, where I have it hooked up to a satellite clock inside my house so I can see what temperature it is up in here. But there are some days where I have to do that, but I have to check on them every morning, and I have to check on them every night. Last night I ran a race downtown that was like a black light 5K, and I knew I wasn't going to be here, so I had my husband set an alarm, 7:30 p.m., you've got to come lock up the girls. And then of course I'm like stretching and like getting ready to go do my run, and I'm texting him like, don't forget to lock up the chickens. Did you lock up the chickens? Did you count? Did you check them? Did you tell them good night? And then I love them and I miss them very much, and you made sure that there were 5? Like, so you've got to do that every single day, guys, every single day. But as far as the perfect number of chickens to have, you know, I can't tell you what that number is. It depends on you, it depends on your land, it depends on your goals, it depends on your pocketbook, it depends on a lot of things. The last thing I'll suggest, and a lot of this, I know I relate to my other videos, because some videos it's like I'm only talking about one thing and I can get really detailed. If you're like me and you are starting out with chickens, just assume that you're going to want more. So maybe don't buy the smallest coop that can only hold 3 chickens and you get 3, because there's a chance, if you're like me, that you're going to want more. You're going to get bitten by that chicken bug and you're going to want more. And then, you know, it might be smart for you to, you know, just anticipate, hey, if I want to expand my flock, how hard is it going to be for me to do that in the future? I had you can see all of my reviews. I have a whole playlist about that chicken coop. It's made by Innovation Pet. Mine was 3 years old, so the models that are currently available now in fall 2019 are actually improved. They've changed the roost bars that I didn't like. They've added windows and stuff like that, and a coop, like a ramp door and a couple of other things. That coop is great, but it was only great for 5 chickens. So when I got, actually I wouldn't even say that. So when I got, you know, a couple of more, I had to go, you know, do upgrades and make changes to the roost bars and stuff to have enough space for my girls. If I were to get 3 more and to have 8 chickens, this coop would be fine, but I might need to do a couple of things. I would want to add more grazing boxes and just do some other things to accommodate. So just kind of know that if you start with chickens, they're kind of like a gateway drug. And you'll want more, and then you'll be like me, and then you'll be like, and now I want quail, and I want ducks, and I'd like a peacock, and how about some goats? And so the struggle is real. But there's just some things for you to think about on, like, what's the perfect number of chickens for me? Some things to think about, including expense, including the amount of time you have, the amount of space you have, not just square footage and land, but remember, the minimum is 10 square feet per bird, plus how much roost space you have for them, making sure you can keep them secure and safe, that you will love them and take care of them every day, or do what needs to be done so that those little lives don't suffer or don't have any hardship. But I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. It is humid, and I need to go take some medicine, and my neighbor is making me insane. So let me know what you are thinking, what factors you considered. How many chickens do you have? Where do you live? What's your setup like? I know you cannot upload photos here on YouTube, but you can certainly make your own videos. Let me know, like, hey, I started a channel, I made a video tour. Like, I follow everybody who does that. I love supporting you guys. It's really fun. Don't do it for the money, but it's really fun to just do little videos and tours, and, like, you know, do a video where you show us your setup, do a video where you introduce your chickens to us, what breeds they are, what their names are, you know, their favorite color, all of that kind of stuff. And you can also email me if you have questions, or if you ever need help with anything. I know there's some things that I don't really have experience with, but I'll do everything I can to help, and I'll help you find some resources, because my community here, for the most part, except for that one lady who said I was stupid, But other than her, you guys are really supportive, and I really appreciate you guys. So I'm going to get some eggs, and I'm going to go inside. But I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. I appreciate you. I hope you and your little flocks are well, and we will be back soon, guys.